It's Your Thoughts Podcast. We do a podcast on what you think.
It's live.
It's live. We're doing it.
It's lit.
We're doing it. We do it every Sunday, except it's Saturday.
It is Saturday.
What's going on?
Dun,
Why
dun,
is it Saturday?
dun,
We'll talk
'cause
about
my
it.
schedule sucks.
Shitty schedule. He's got things to do on Saturday. He's not even religious. It's weird.
Wait, no, if you're Jewish.
That's not a set.
Friday evening to Saturday night, motherfucker.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
That's the original Sabbath.
What?
Yeah.
Oh. Hi, welcome to Your Thoughts Podcast. I'm Jesse Martinez.
This is Tyler Beck.
We have a very fun guest today. His name is Ryan. No last names.
Yeah.
He's got a very.
I have a pseudonym.
He
and
does.
That's just Ryan.
Yeah, it's just Ryan. So leave it at that. You don't know him. You're never gonna know him.
You probably know me.
We have.
You've seen me arguing on your Facebook before,
Yeah.
telling you why your God's not real.
This is another friend of ours from high school, or mostly Tyler's. I've seen him before. He looks different. He sounds different. He's got a beard now.
I do have a beard. I'm
Very
proud of
nice
it.
beard. We're sitting down in Tyler's living room recording a podcast because we haven't talked to him in a while. We want to see what's going on in that
We're getting pretty meta.
head of his.
Super meta.
So what's going on, Rye?
Well, we got a lot of things that we can talk about here.
Well, you have a little notebook, I see.
I do have a little
I have a
notebook with
coffee.
my chicken scratch.
Ooh, I like it.
See, this is like cuneiform in my way, and it's all in Hebrew.
Well, I think I think the first topic we should talk about is meditation. 'Cause Tyler's
Meditation.
all about it.
He is a meditator.
So I'll say it. I'll say it. He's an atheist, or not an atheist. He's a Satanist. A lot of people are like, "Ooh, Satan!" bleh." Shut up. Just shut. You don't know. You don't know about it. And
They're
he's gonna
not
tell you
mutually
about it.
I'm a Satanist or Ryan is?
Ryan is. A
Yeah, you kind of.
Did I?
That was a bad digression.
My bad.
You kind of
Ryan's
inferred.
a Satanist, and also he's going to talk about it today. So all the misconceptions about Satanism.
We got a
can
lot of
go
things we
away.
can talk about.
Let's start there.
Okay, let's start with Satanism.
So tell me about the two different types of Satanism.
well, there are actually quite a few.
Nope.
You have your Satanist cults and
Of
whatnot
course.
that actually do. You have your theistic Satanism that literally do believe in a god and a Satan.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, they know that the Satan's going to lose, so they choose that side. I'm
That-
not
that's
understand.
mad weird. Yeah. If you're into the biblical sense, the Bible clearly states that's not going to be a good
Yeah,
fight
bro.
for
Just
the Satan
you're
side.
gonna lose.
Yeah.
It's right there. I don't know why, but you got your theistic Satanists. You have your cults, of course, that actually try to do crazy sacrifices that you hear in the
Satan's
news.
work. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine you're into God, but it's Satan. You're doing all the same stuff. It's just whatever he tells you to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
So who are you to judge? You're doing the same thing.
but the two that we like to focus on are the non-theistic forms of
They're not
Satanism.
fucking crazy ones.
If you've ever picked up the Satanic Bible,
Which I have.
it's a good read.
It is.
It's an entertaining read.
It is.
Short read too.
I like
you can
what
get
it
through
says
it.
in there.
A lot of, especially the chapter
Have
on
you actually
satanic
read
sex.
I've read a couple pages.
I read all the way to the part where it gets to the magic, and then I stopped.
I was done.
But-
Boner kill, you know? My old roommate, Sarah, used to own one, and I would pick it up every now and again. I'd usually just have it when Mormons came to my door. Because if you don't know, if a Mormon comes to your door and you tell them that you're satanic, they stop talking to you by instruction.
You can
They're
also
not
say
allowed
you're an
to do
apostate, just like with Jehovah's
that.
Witnesses.
You have a
And
prostate?
I do. I would hope everyone.
They scared of
I
prostates
think everybody
now?
should. What is an apostate?
An apostate is someone who was in the religion, but has since fell from their graces and left the religion. There are different terms and definitions,
Do
but
they
that's
respect
assessment.
that?
No.
Okay,
No.
well, so yeah, no, but there's also, so would an apostate be somebody who's been kicked out of the church?
I mean, by definition, technically.
Okay, just somebody who was there. And
Yeah,
isn't
I mean,
there
there's
anymore, right?
excommunication would be a better definition, but
Okay.
yes, an
Right.
apostate.
Yeah, well, I know my girlfriend was Mormon. She was raised Mormon.
Yeah, my wife
Very
was ex-Mormon.
hardcore Mormon, and now we're both atheists.
Yeah.
I was always an atheist, but she's
actually
an atheist
knows you.
now.
And
your
yeah,
girlfriend.
Shelby C.
Your wife.
I don't know if you.
I'm not
No.
good with names.
Oh,
I can
that's
see
her.
faces.
Well, cool. Well, no, you can't because it's not here. But
It's in your mind's eye, Jesse. It's in your mind's eye.
let me show you.
Okay, back from our digression.
yeah, sure.
A little bit. Where were we at?
She used to be hardcore, and she taught me a lot about the how crazy Mormons are. And they're nice. They're really nice people.
Oh, they're super nice. I've been to Mormon church
Yeah,
several times
yes,
because
so
my
have I.
wife's
Very
family is
nice.
Mormon.
they're scary. nice.
3-hour services.
Yep, they're crazy, and they're boring as
And you
fuck.
you go
They're
there
so
for like
crazy.
3 days out of the week. If you're in the church and you have a calling, you're working a part-time job.
You are
You do like 20 hours a week.
with a garbage payoff.
There's like no payoff.
No.
You get,
Well,
you get subsidies.
They think there's a payoff. It's at the end of their life.
Oh yeah,
which is like,
sell you a product you don't see till you die.
Yeah.
The greatest con
It's
there ever is.
amazing. Whoever came up with it, whoever was just sitting down and was like, "We need something here. Fuck it, invisible person in the sky. Start there and work your way up." It's crazy. It's nuts.
I'm trying to find out what our tangent point was. Was it Satanism or was it something after that? What did we want?
I
we
keep
got
getting
to
off.
excommunication.
Okay, apostasy. That's right. We can do that real quick before we go back into
Okay.
Satanism. Okay, so apostasy. I'm not sure if you guys are too well read in the Bible. I've picked it up. I haven't touched it in forever. I'm still in the Old Testament.
Sure.
One of the things I've been doing is try to read through all the holy books.
Yeah.
Bible's the most boring fucking
It
book
is. It's awful.
in the world.
But also, if you get into it, it's interesting how all of the death and the ill will on human species is considered a good thing, and we've turned it into like this positive. There was a lot of shitty things that happened in the Bible, and most like religious text is really bad.
Yeah.
People die. People
no matter what
raped
it is.
and stoned, and it's
Genocide
not good.
multiple times.
Right? And we've talked about this on podcasts before about just how fucked up that it actually episode 1 I think is what we were talking
Take a
about.
critical eye to
Badly.
any holy book and
Yeah.
you'll find terrible things.
But they accept it.
I'm not sure. No, I think they just cherry pick.
It is cherry picking.
I think it's more of an illustration on how not to act.
Some people could probably take it.
You can divine that, but you also have instruction on how to act evilly.
Unless you're the KKK.
For example,
right?
in the Old Testament, there's God's command to kill all the Canaanites, men, women, and children.
Is that Canaanites?
Yeah, Canaanites, which, fun fact, are dark-skinned people.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's the lineage of Cain. Right?
Correct.
What?
Tyler's got
Cain and
the
He
Abel.
gets a star.
The story of Cain and Abel is they're two brothers, and Cain is jealous of Abel, I think.
Abel, God set up a really weird, kind of worship system, which, I think we all understand is fucked in the first place.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
just especially with early man, quotations. So, Abel was a tender to the vegetation, so he would offer up, crop
Sure.
as sacrifice and stuff for
Marijuana.
God. Exactly. He was a total stoner. Or sorry, no, I got that mixed up. Abel he had the cattle and the sheep and all that stuff.
you
Cain was the
Okay.
vegetation. I got them mixed up.
Yeah.
See, big caveat here and whatnot. Disclaimer. That's the word I'm looking for. I am not a biblical expert.
It's true. I don't think any of us are. We just have opinions, and we have very low knowledge on all of this.
Before anyone
some
starts
more
sending
than
a bunch of
others.
emails.
This guy fucking-
Well, how you learn is have conversations.
Yeah,
That's why we
Exactly.
do this. I'll say it every
But,
podcast.
So the reason why I ask how well read are you in the Bible is because when it comes to apostasy, for Christians, it's the only unforgivable sin, which is blasphemy against the Holy Spirit.
That's what I thought. Okay.
That's the only one.
So those two goes hand in hand. Leaving the church, leaving the religion. is blasphemy
Exactly.
in
So
itself.
if you had a testimony and then you left, you're an apostate,
Son of a bitch.
which would be myself included. So I am damned
Yeah.
for hellfire.
So wait, well, so am I because I was raised Christian, and I don't think I think I was baptized. And then obviously I'm an atheist now.
Yeah.
I don't fucking give a shit.
I think I would technically be an apostate as well.
You were baptized Catholic, right?
Yes, and then I was also baptized in a Baptist
Jesus
church.
Christ!
You know,
You're
I've
going
never
to hell
been
twice,
baptized.
You know that? That's probably for the best.
Yeah,
You never
so-
accepted him in the first place.
Well, I did
so,
have a
you know what I mean?
reborn come into Jesus moment when I was 14.
Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
man.
So I went to a church. Well, I liked it for a while, mostly because the pretty church girls were there.
Yes, but I mean, yeah, you're not allowed to look at them. It's fucking
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, them ankles.
stupid. Okay, so we're talking atheism.
Yeah.
So
Well, we actually digressed.
we did
multiple times.
Let's get back.
All right.
Let's step it back.
So yeah, back to the terms of Satanism, non-theistically. If you picked up a Satanic Bible, chances are that's LaVeyan Satanism, which is Anton LaVey's version of Satanism, which he started back during the Satanic Panic. I want to say
What the fuck?
this was in the 80s.
The satanic panic.
This is a real thing.
Really?
This
It's
is a real
amazing.
thing. Well, it's before our time because we're fucking millennials. So this is before our time. In the 80s, there was a satanic panic. I'm pretty sure Anton played a large part in that. But yes,
Sounds
if you
like you played most part in that.
not necessarily. I mean, a lot of it was like, oh, there's satanic verses and Iron Maiden and fucking Black Sabbath.
Iron
and-
Maiden satanic though? I mean,
Have you not listened to Number of the Beast?
I don't like Iron Maiden. I don't know.
666.
Oh, yeah.
Number of the Beast.
A lot of these groups actually just played into it because they knew it was taboo.
And they sell records for it.
Well, yeah,
And
it's an
kids' parents
uprising,
would
people.
burn it.
Yeah.
And burn the kids too.
What was it? Even bad publicity is considered. Any publicity is considered good publicity.
Yeah, you
so
get
that
your
makes a
name
lot of
out there.
sense, Yeah.
But yeah, you have Anton LaVey's version of Satanism, which is not theistic, but it has a magical element to it.
Sure.
They
Just
have
like Wiccans that believe in Satan.
Well, it's actually a lineage of paganism.
I don't know much about paganism or Wiccanism.
Him himself is a pegger.
I'm not currently a pagan, but when I was in high school, I was really interested in paganism, the whole like witchcraft thing.
Right.
I wanted to actually see if that was true
Right.
because
My mother has a
It'd be
story.
really
fuck
cool.
if I knew. So
It'd be really
and
cool
I
if
came
magic
from
was real.
Christianity,
Fuck,
so
yeah.
I was like, let's go from Christianity to something.
Insanely opposite.
You have that.
Well, it's actually more like paganism was consumed by Christianity, so let's go further back.
Wait. So it was paganism before Christianity, or Christianity?
Well,
before?
even
That's what I
before
thought.
that, you have Zoroastrianism, which is the earliest form of monotheistic religion. What you had is Persia at the time. I'm going into ancient history now. I'm a huge nerd. All right.
Yeah. Somebody studied history at Skyline.
No, this wasn't taught at Skyline, unfortunately. But you had Persia taking over the world under Cyrus the Great. He's the founder of the Achaemenid Persian Empire. He was a Zoroastrian, and Cyrus actually gets mentioned in the Bible of the Old Testament several times for helping the Hebrews because he helped. I want to say, don't quote me on this. I want to say he helped reconstruct the Temple of Solomon after it was destroyed, which I believe was by the Babylonians around circa, I don't know, 1000
Just remembered
BCE.
We can fact check. Let's fact check.
I'm sure we can fact
Continue.
check. Again, not a scholar. This is just a hobby of mine.
Story?
This is, well, actually, there's several couple things that we could do off that. Which specifically?
Well, we're trying to do the time frame that you couldn't.
So, the rise of Cyrus the Great. Yeah, Cyrus the Great of the Achaemenid Persian Empire, which I believe was around 500 BCE, but Babylon destroyed Judea earlier than that. Cyrus just helped rebuild Solomon's temple, I'm sure. But yes, you have mentions of Cyrus the Great in the Old Testament. He himself was a Zoroastrian, which is ironic because in the Old Testament you can see that Yahweh, the Jewish god, was guiding the hand of Cyrus, even though he was a Zoroastrian, which would be kind of funny.
What?
So how does that work out? It
doesn't.
Does God allow people to do great things in the name of other gods?
Well, no, because it's always been a weird thing because you're not allowed to. First off, I mean, it just seems like you're not allowed to believe in another god. That's always been the thing because that's blasphemy in itself. Is that there's one god and that's fucking it, which is selfish. You know, for somebody of all power and higher being to be so fucking selfish, just has always been a weird thing to me.
What's interesting about the monotheistic view that modern Christians have is that it also is a testament to them not reading the Old Testament.
Jesus.
God is always pissed in the Old Testament because the Hebrews are always worshiping some other deity.
Sounds like a father I know.
Moses takes them out of Egypt. By the way, there's no evidence for Moses even existing. That was a total story.
For sure.
Modern archaeologists say, no, that did not happen.
They have similar views on Jesus as well. They really don't know.
That's a touchy subject. We'll get into that later, probably. Or even for another episode.
For sure. We do callbacks.
Call forward, call back. So yeah, you have in the Old Testament, God is always referencing the Hebrews worshiping other gods, and he keeps getting pissed about it. Baal, for example.
So my one of the things that always kind of confused me is that Roman times there's a bunch of gods, like a ton. and our God didn't exist yet, and then it translated from the tons of gods for everything and subject to the one that just collects them all. So where did that transition, and why did we stop believing in them, and now why do we only believe in one?
I don't think scholars have a really pinpoint example. People think it's due to one of the emperors. I think it wasn't Augustus. It was something with a C.
I love that god, something with a C.
No, the
Really?
emperor. The emperor.
An emperor.
Yeah,
I
the
don't know that
emperor
one. I
that
know
is
the god.
credited with turning the Roman Empire monotheistic. There's some argument to that, but there's also not fully there.
Okay. I'm sorry I keep straying you
No,
away.
that's
we're still
okay.
we're
Okay, here
15
we go.
minutes in. We still have not talked about Satan.
Constantine.
Yeah.
Constantine, I believe, was the emperor that
Do
is
the fact check.
credited
Yes,
with...
it was Constantine.
Okay.
Constantine issued the Edict of Milan, which accepted Christianity. 10 years later, it had become the official religion of the Roman Empire.
And
Correct.
the world
This
later
was
on.
in 313 AD.
Yes.
Is that how you say dates like
Well,
that?
you could have AD or CE, which would be the secular version of it, Common Era.
Or an STD.
We don't
Could have
want
one
that.
of those. I want that. I do want that. I have that.
He's credited with that, but sources show that it was a possibility the Roman Empire was going to become monotheistic anyway. It was a growing trend. Christianity was growing. But yeah, you've gone from...
It said that it became more organized, and then in 313 AD, he decided, let's make this the official religion.
Mm-hmm. So,
How do you decide something like that?
I
the
believe there's
ruler.
stories bringing back to his mother was a Christian.
It's nuts. You just decide that for everyone, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, there was interesting fact with it comes to Rome
Actually,
and Jesus figure. You have Romulus.
Oh, there's many. There's
Yeah.
many with the same exact story.
Yeah. Yeah, there's many, but especially Romulus
Mm-hmm.
that would have had passion plays, Passion of the Christ, same kind of idea, birth and resurrection.
Okay.
That is an argument against Jesus' existence, but
Yeah.
again, that's a touchy subject. There's a lot of controversy there, I should say.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, we'll continue on.
man, we've gone on several different subjects.
I know we just keep layering on.
Let me go ahead.
There's just
Let's
so
get
much to talk
Satanism
about.
out of the way.
Yeah,
Let's get Satanism out of the way. So yes, you have Levian Satanism and the Satanic Temple, which you find in the news quite often.
Yep.
And it's a completely non-theistic version of Satanism. It's atheism, but we have a satanic stamp on it because you can't make political gain on non-belief. You have to have an alternate
Some
belief.
sort of belief. Yeah.
Exactly, because I think here in the States or some other country, Pastafarianism wasn't recognized as an official religion, so they booted that out.
Well, yeah, because
Excuse me.
the idea was it was a religion again't the idea of religion.
Yeah, it was
which
just a mockery.
nuts. Yeah, it was a mockery, and then people were like, "Wow,
So
that's insane! It's a good."
we
concept."
can't base, you can't, when it comes to the 10 Commandments, you can't have a statue of nothing
Yeah.
next to it, which
Of
would
course.
be, non-belief.
Yeah.
So, you could promote science in some way, I'm sure you could do, but that doesn't necessarily equate to atheism. So Satanism comes in and says they want to be the boogeyman, essentially.
They just put a name,
Exactly.
a face to the name, basically.
It's
is what happened,
humanism, it's atheism,
yeah. Right.
but Satanism for a
the thing-
visual.
The thing about it is I understand where it stands and why it is what it is, but also you could have came up with another name, but people are scared of it. People
Yeah.
are scared of just the
It's
word
for
Satan.
it's for the scare effect.
It is, and it works. It really does.
It does work, and
But-
it shows every time that it works.
It's just a wonderful thing that they would choose it doesn't have any correlation to it, and so that's kind of neat for me because it's just crazy.
Wikipedia says the religion propagates a naturalistic worldview, seeing mankind as animals existing in an amoral universe. It promotes a philosophy based on individualism and egoism, coupled with social Darwinism and anti-egalitarianism.
But there's people who still challenge that, even though that's
Of
all
course.
it's about. That's all it's about. It's about nothing else. But just the name attached to it, it gets such a bad reputation.
I
Yeah.
want to point out something that I've heard by a bunch of people who actually follow LaVeyan Satanism and people who have been represented in the media. It also says it here: practitioners do not believe that Satan literally exists and
Exactly.
do not worship him.
Exactly. Yeah. And those two forms of Satanism, there's probably offsets, I'm sure. But the two main ones, LaVeyan and Satanic Temple, does not believe in Satan at all.
He's a representation of a positive archetype.
Exactly.
What is Zane, the guy I was talking about earlier,
Right.
off camera?
Call back.
He believed that Satan was a god amongst all of the other gods in either Egyptian or Greek mythology.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is what he told me. I think this is what he told me. It was a few years ago, but he was a neutral god amongst the gods that was neither good nor evil, and that still exists to this day as a neutral god. And so he has a shrine, and he prays to him every morning. And it's
interesting.
his version of Satan. I'm not sure if that is if that's his own form, if that's what he's formed in his
That
head,
definitely aligns with some kind of apocryphal writings about Satanism or Satan himself. You know, his fall from grace, the battle before heaven. Mormonism has a own version of that.
Mormonism has 3 versions of that, which we can talk about.
Yeah, we could spend a whole episode on Mormonism.
Yes,
That's
could.
my favorite
It's
religion.
so crazy.
It's so much. Okay, listeners, if you have never read the Book of Mormon, this is the first time I'm going to actually seriously advertise reading a religious book. The Book of Mormon is insane.
Nuts. It's the craziest thing.
Skip Second Nephi altogether. That'll save you some time.
Read it.
I think you should read all of them.
It's the Old Testament. That's all it is. It's a copy of the Old Testament.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're a Christian,
It's
right.
Isaiah.
It's done.
Most of Second Nephi has Joseph Smith's crazy fever dream.
Fever dream.
Yeah, and then the rest is the Old Testament.
I really think that the people in the Bible were just tripping acid too much.
There is a large amount of arguments that could be put into for hallucinogens throughout.
Specifically mushrooms.
Exactly. Yeah, hallucinogens.
They grow everywhere across the planet.
Yeah,
We were hungry. We didn't have the resources we have today. We're just eating whatever was on the ground.
I mean, just think about
It's like getting high.
rituals like communion. You know, you drink some kind of wine or you eat something, and that could
Shred
have
balls and create
exactly
Some spiritual
God.
connotation to a specific resource.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so Mormons are crazy, but they're also really nice.
Don't be mean to Mormons, guys. Don't be mean to anyone.
Yeah, if you don't know about Satanism, the one that he's talking about, it is about being kind to literally everybody.
Look up the 7 satanic tenets of the earth, and you can completely understand where it comes from.
There is one that's when I talk about it's controversial is taking care of yourself before you can take care of others. People see it as a selfish act, but it's really not, because if you think about it, how are you going to take care of somebody with a broken arm if you yourself have 2 broken arms? It's just, if you take care of yourself first, then you have the ability to take care of others. It's not a selfish thing. You just have to make sure that you're there before you can make somebody else there. And that's when I talk about Satanism is the most controversial thing, because it's like, oh, that's fucking retarded.
Tyler looks like he has something going on over there.
I just looked up the 7 fundamental tenets of... It just says thesatanictemple.com. I don't know if
they should. If you go to Google Images, I'm sure they'll have like a big old tablet. I have a membership card on me, but it's been so faded over the year that I've had it that I can't even read it anymore.
One should strive to act with compassion and empathy toward all creatures in accordance with reason. The struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. One's body is inviolable.
Don't you fucking
inviolable.
You're not even reading it. He knows what's good.
You can't violate it.
What's up?
Basically, no one can have you violate your own body. It has a lot to do with the abortion argument
Or rape.
For or against?
It's against, or sorry, it's for pro-choice.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Subject to one's
Satanism
own will
are
alone.
pro-choice. So if that helps you sway back and forth.
Subject to one's own will alone.
Yeah.
Right. So basically,
if you do what you want with your
Right.
body, it is your body.
But you can't. It's just like anything else. It's human nature. Don't fuck with other people, and they won't fuck with you. That's all it is. Do you, whatever that may be, pierce your nipples, I don't know, get your penis inverted. That doesn't bother anybody. And if it does, you're an asshole.
This ties into that. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own.
Do you think that our laws these days are like by say because it's a lot like freedom of speech. That pretty much
There are caveats.
that it pretty much is that. It's just the freedom to offend and be offended.
Yeah,
Things like that.
I quite enjoy
I
that.
agree with that.
I had an argument recently on Facebook with someone when it came to free speech and like comparing it to UK's laws and their laws of libel, how they're not allowed to make certain accusations or say bad things about other people. I'm very glad we don't have that here in the States.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Because I want to be an asshole and I want the freedom to.
I think
be
it
an
becomes
asshole.
complicated when it's slanderous, though.
Well, you can't. I
There's a
guess-
line.
Look
There's
this
a
up.
line.
The things you can't say about the president in public.
Exactly.
There are things that
They're
we don't have
typically
the freedom.
threats.
We
Right,
have
Yeah.
free speech, but we cannot wish harm on people or places.
It would be
That's the caveat.
intent to harm, premeditated murder.
Exactly. Yeah.
It gets complicated after
Yeah.
that.
It's
But
specifically threatening the president of the United States is a felony.
Yeah. You know, we have quote unquote freedom of speech, but there are obviously logical lines that we cannot cross, which is, oh, I'm going to kill you. Like,
right,
that's
if,
a threat.
If you say that, and then act upon it, that's premeditated murder.
Exactly.
Now, if you don't say it and then you act upon it, that's just murder. You don't know.
Yeah.
You know, that could just be.
But it's like, it's stupid when it comes to laws of libel. You have like, this person's a duty head. And then,
No,
and then
fuck
they're
you,
like,
you're going to
and
prison.
then they sue you. And then they're like, you called me a duty head. I don't have duty on my head.
That's incorrect, sir. This is chocolate. I don't know.
I think where it also gets complicated is people like Trump who just claim everybody is lying, and you can prove that they're not telling the truth, but what do you do about that?
Burden of proof. Well, I think that's a good argument.
You're
when it
lying. How do I prove that? I don't care.
Oh, the world's fucked up, man. And if everybody was just Satanists, we'd all be cool, you know?
But
it
it's
can't-
not for everyone.
it's
Well,
not for
actually,
everyone,
this
but the only
this
reason
principle
it's-
right here. Belief should conform to our best scientific understanding of the world.
We're
We
going
should
back to
take
the satanic
care
tenets,
never
sorry.
to distort
Yeah.
scientific facts to fit our beliefs. That is important.
It is very
But
important.
it's not used. We could look
It
at this
should
all
be
day.
used regardless of your religion.
We should. I don't know. It's
We should make laws based on reality. That we can prove is a thing. We know that slavery is bad because it's bad to people.
and
Right.
we have a ton of evidence
that's
for
against
that.
that's against our laws. It's against satanic law.
But it's for
most
God's
laws.
law.
Yes,
God
Yeah.
specifically is a promoter of slavery. Read your Bible.
I made these people so that you could own these people, but you are also a person. If he overthrows you, you kill
Yeah.
him. You know,
You may take slaves of the heathen nations around you.
it's crazy. And it was just a bend to our will as human beings, especially back then. And we were talking about this a while ago, probably about a couple months ago. Is that did it this one? Lost train of thought.
Uh-oh.
It happens
every single
every
podcast.
single episode. I'll have to jump back into it because it's a very important topic. What were we talking about?
Well, we were talking about, how it comes to morals in a way.
Yeah. So we basically wrote, if we were talking about maybe Jesus didn't exist ever, it was just a figment of somebody's imagination, or basically just a scam for people. It was to form around our ideas that society should work, and the best way to do that was to scare people.
Right.
You scared them into thinking that there was a hell and there was a heaven, and if you don't conform to the way that society should be, you're going to hell. And if you do, you'll be rewarded, and so on and so forth. And it was...
I think it's important to mention that the concept of Jesus himself is an archetype, and it's represented in many different
Oh, yeah.
religions and cultures.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's always a Messiah in most everything. There's a God and then a God's son, or somebody who...
Well, Mashiach.
A martyr.
That's just translated to the anointed one. It doesn't. I mean, yeah, there's a savior figure. I would agree.
Yeah,
in
a
every
savior,
kind of
yeah.
in every kind of
And
religion.
in some cases, it's Jesus with a new name.
Yeah. Or if you're a Hindu, it's Brahma or not Brahma. No, who was it? I can't remember.
Me neither. I didn't.
Vishnu.
know it was-
I think it's Vishnu.
I've heard of Vishnu.
Vishnu is
Me and
behind
Vishnu
everything.
Were tight as fuck. Vishnu all the time.
I'm not familiar with the other ones, but I know there's Krishna, Vishnu.
There's billion. There's over a billion
There's
gods.
a billion? Oh, well, I'll never know.
And we
that
chose one. There's so many, and we were just like, "That's the guy."
You
for
got
most
Brahma,
infinite
Rama,
gods.
Shiva, Vishnu. Those are like
most
Hanuman.
prevalent ones.
Those ones.
Vishnu is. I was telling you. Unfortunately, a close friend of mine, Larry, died last Monday. But his sister came over when we were talking all the stuff that he, financially or whatever. She believed in Vishnu, and she was a
Hindu?
no, she wasn't Hindu. I don't remember. I'm talking out of my ass.
Vishnu's a Hindu god.
Yeah.
Okay. Then,
I don't know if there's other.
Buddhism is an offsect of Hinduism. Buddha himself was supposedly Vishnu.
I thought he was just like a humble dude that had.
Yeah, but
nothing to
the
do with
Hindu retroactive kind of explanation is like, oh, that was just Vishnu.
Oh yeah, it's cool. That's just Vishnu over there.
Jesus, that was Vishnu.
There is evidence that Siddhartha did actually exist. He's the Buddha.
Exactly. Yeah. No, there is historical evidence.
I wish I
I'm
could
pretty
met
sure.
That guy. Like the way that they portray him, he just seems like a friendly dude.
He probably just would have been like some dude chilling under the tree, like just exist.
Aren't you important? Nah.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not important.
I mean,
I'm
every
not
religion
important
still
either.
has its toxicity. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, obviously. Like
Hey.
even Buddhism.
Yeah.
It's great.
I believe they're pretty sexist. I want to say.
Maybe
I
that
wanna
makes a lot
say.
of sense, right?
I know Hinduism. There's like they have such a reverence for women, but India has a terrible rape problem.
It's true.
A terrible rape,
Or a
problem.
good one if you're a rapist.
But
Well, the whole marriage thing is also kind of interesting from a Western perspective.
You mean like the arranged marriages
Yes.
where you don't know, you just kind of have to deal with it?
your parents do it?
well, that's
Yeah,
in
you
several
have no say.
cultures.
I have a buddy that I work with. I won't say his name. Keep that anonymous. But he is of the Indian.
Who is he?
Shut up, dude. Don't. He's an Indian, and his parents. He's from here. He was born and raised here, I believe. His parents set him up with a marriage, and he fucked it up. Had sex with her before.
Oh, dude, he was ready.
Yeah, he was ready, and so that failed the marriage. Not on his. It was on both parents because it's the two sets of parents coming together.
Right,
saying,
yeah,
"You-
making
my
a
daughter can
contract
marry
kind
you,"
of
so-
thing.
Right, so everybody was disappointed, and so they have.
I bet she was too.
Yeah. They have. I'm sorry, buddy, if you're listening to this. I'm not. I'm not trying to.
I don't know you. I just had to make that joke.
Let's go back to the 7 fundamentals.
Oh yeah, let's finish this up here. We're back to the 7.
People are fallible. If we
Oh,
make a mistake, we should do our best to rectify it and remediate any harm that may have been caused.
So, is that curiously? So read that again for me, really quick.
Okay, people are fallible. If we make a mistake, we should do our best to rectify it and remediate any harm that may have been caused.
So, is
So
that by
if you
death? Maybe
fuck
possibly.
up, then
What's it say? What does it say about murder? That's what I really want to know.
it actually doesn't say anything about murder.
So it's cool then. Like, chill.
And not by omission. No,
Okay.
no, it's not okay because it's not
It's-
stated
So
there.
is-
I'm pretty sure one of the tenets
Okay,
are do not
okay.
harm others.
That's good. That's probably-
So let's
But
go back
what
to
if-
this. You should strive to act with compassion
There
and
we go.
empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. Obviously, don't kill people.
Yeah, 'cause
and
that's
then there's
unreasonable.
one's body is inviolable or inviolable,
Inviolable. Yeah.
however you pronounce that.
He still remembers it all.
Subject to one's own will alone, which means don't kill me because I don't want you to.
Or I
And
want to
then-
die. I mean,
Is that
assisted
cool?
suicide
Is that-
should be
is
should
that
be
pretty
legal.
chill?
The freedoms
Yeah.
of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. But don't kill me.
That's an offense. I'm offended by my death by you.
So it doesn't necessarily say it in the literal sense, but it is definitely implied.
So then, what
Or
are
can be implied.
there punishments for? I mean, these are technically not laws, but things you should live by, unless you are the Satanist, and those are laws that you do live by. But they're just really good moral laws that we should be living by. Is there consequence for breaking these? moral
Well, and
laws?
you have the secular government in which they will enact punishment for whatever you do.
Oh, boo.
But we still live in society.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, no matter what your religion says, you're going to get punished if society says, "Hey, it's kind of a bad idea to kill people."
Well, I've always believed in an eye for an eye. You slap somebody, you should get slapped back.
I don't agree with that, actually.
And then if you kill somebody,
Gandhi
Let's appoint
said,
somebody
an
who-
eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind.
really, so we should just forgive.
Yes. Turn the other cheek. That's
I
what Jesus said.
actually am not for capital punishment. I am against the death sentence.
I
don't
am as
believe
well.
I don't believe that's a good way because we
I-
don't have a perfect justice system.
I
We
truly
have
think we can reform people. I think
Yeah.
that
But we need somebody who's fucking good at it, though. Like you can, not everybody can just do that.
more often than
And
not,
these are-
killing somebody is an impulsive reaction.
exactly.
Right, but
We're-
these
that's
are-
vengeance, not justice.
Or crimes of passion.
We're going on to scientific studies that are claiming that these are chemical imbalances in people's minds, because as animals, not as human beings, but as animals that walk amongst other animals that are just
There's nothing special.
apex predators, we have a block that says do not kill people. It's a wall. It's a wall that keeps us from eating our children like dogs do.
Well, that's the whole concept of empathy. We're supposed to empathize. We're supposed to sympathize. We're supposed to have emotional connections with people.
But
that keeps us from killing
This
each
sounds
other.
really, really, really bad, and I don't mean it to sound this bad, but we're
Caveat,
punishing.
spoiler words.
We're punishing people for not having the empathy that most people do, and that's not necessarily their fault. They shouldn't kill, right? But there's nothing in their brains like we have in our brains that says, let's not fucking kill people. They have an urge. They need to fulfill that urge. I don't agree with it, but also it is something that's wrong with them.
It depends on your childhood development, the nature-nurture concept.
Right, there's a lot of things to blame for somebody needing to go out and cut chicks' heads off.
Yeah, Sam Harris talks a lot about that.
Disorders that may arise throughout development.
And whether they're the nicest people on earth or they're the meanest people on earth, they still don't have that kind of wall up that says, hey, let's not kill a person for no reason. So we're killing people for it. And it's weird. It's a weird gray area.
Right.
But our prison industry has not utilized the whole reformation that it could be doing with its population.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Because it costs money.
Well,
one
because
thing
we're profiting off of people being in prison as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Private prisons that need a 90% occupation rate in order to get certain funds or something like that.
It's fucking
Yeah.
ridiculous.
But I mean, if we just legalize drugs wholesale,
I've been saying that forever.
Oh, well, we've been agreeing on it, yes.
we would save a ton of taxpayer money.
Yes.
I mean,
Well, the
that's
drug war would end. We would eliminate black markets.
Exactly.
Sort of. They
hang
always
around.
will exist, but it kind of cuts
Right, 'cause
them
we're not
off.
going to legalize buying
Essentially,
body
we did that
parts,
with marijuana, and it's been proven to be pretty effective at keeping kids off of drugs and also producing a ton of tax benefits.
we see this time and time again. I
Yeah.
mean, you have countries in the other parts of the world like, okay, you know what, drugs, it's a huge problem. Let's just go ahead and legalize it.
Medicinal
legalize.
cannabis is legal in Israel, and there's no problem.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Did you have a brain fart too?
yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's your first one. I've had 5 so far. So I read this thing. This is just, it's on off topic. I read this thing where it said that Colorado legalizing marijuana, they've seen a lot of people crossing the border into another state with Colorado.
Yeah,
weed.
that's the black market.
Right, the black market, of course. But
Essentially,
it was
it's just people who live in Colorado. They're just citizens, but that becomes
it was
the black market.
It was such a huge amount that it was intent to sell. It was the specific amount that was intent to sell, which means they're taking.
Obviously, there's a market.
Right, there is a market. What I'm saying, and this was funny, is that it was a map. It was all blue. It was all the states that had Colorado weed from people bringing Colorado weed into other states that aren't legal for for
It
selling
happens
marijuana.
in Oregon as well because it's
The
legal there
one
and
state
Washington.
that was not colored was Colorado, which means that Colorado does not have its own weed. That's kind of funny. Anyway,
No, they import it from Oregon.
yeah.
but
Colorado's weed is from Oregen. Oregon's weed is from Manhattan. Whatever.
But my girlfriend lived in Idaho, and they got their weed.
from potatoes.
They
Come and get your tater weed.
they knew people who brought it in from Oregon.
Really?
Yeah, and
pretty
people
neat.
bring it in from Mexico.
Is it legalized in
into
Oregon?
Arizona all the time.
I think you said that. Yeah.
It's legal in Oregon, correct?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
legal in Oregon. It's legal in Washington. It's legal in Colorado. It's legal in California now, but I don't know if it's actually legal yet because it was passed. But
California.
All them liberal states.
Wasn't that a weird thing that California
West
wasn't
Coast.
the first place to legalize?
it is very interesting that
I know, right? I went there recently to visit family, and I was like,
love family.
Is it legal? In what kind of sense? In
always
like an
smells like
incestuous?
weed
The whole state is just pot. It's just what it smells like.
When I went to Colorado too recently,
Your state flower is a marijuana.
there was like a dispensary every corner in Colorado. I was like, Jesus, there's so much weed here. I want to have some.
I think it would be cool if you were just at Fry's and you were just like, I need apples, bananas, a fifth.
Just checking off your checklist. Honey, how much weed do we need?
I cook with it. I smoke
But
it.
realistically, if it wasn't so stigmatized, that is exactly how it would be.
Well, we all know the reasons why, and I'll give a brief history. Pot,
Because Nixon didn't want that.
right? So pot
Richard Nixon.
was not only legal a while ago, not too long ago. I don't know an exact time frame. Will you look it up? The last time pot was.
It was definitely, we had less stigma about drugs in early America.
Well, it wasn't just drugs, but hemp, which was associated with the marijuana,
Right.
the THC, and the CBD. Before it was associated with that,
What
which
exactly did
people
you want?
from what's that?
The start of the drug war was 1969 through 1974 by Richard Nixon.
So marijuana was not only legal, but it was if you had a farm.
I don't think it was actually legal, though.
Well, if you had a farm, it was important that you also grew hemp on your farm. So if you grew crops, one of the crops that you
Definitely
had
early America.
was hemp because it was such a utilized crop. It was really good. So the first Model T that Ford ever built was actually made out of hemp. It was inside
And which part?
and out.
Oh, all of it? Like-
yeah, the whole thing. The interior, the exterior, the frame, all made out of hemp.
Hemp
Interesting.
grown for fiber is
I'd like to
planted
see the
closely,
citation for that.
resulting in tall, slender plants with long fibers. Use
They
of
are
industrial hemp plant
strong.
and its cultivation was commonplace until the 1990s, when it was associated with its genetic sibling, aka drug-type cannabis species.
Right. So
But it has almost nothing to do.
So interesting. There's like
The
a,
same plant, but
there's like,
different use.
so hemp is not cannabis, but cannabis is hemp.
right. So the plant itself.
It's the female and male kind of thing.
Oh, okay. I know nothing of this.
The plant itself is a really good resource because it creates paper.
Uh-huh.
The Model T that I was talking about, the very first one was made out of hemp, and not only was it structured out of hemp, but it ran off of hemp seed oil. So entirely ran off of
Interesting.
pot. It's
Yeah, here's
basically hemp.
a decent image that portrays it. It's a hemp, agricultural production, fiber, oil, food, and then marijuana, pharmacological production, THC, and cannabinoids, CBD.
Look at that, listeners. Some visual aids for our listening podcast. Oh, yeah, you got the camera over there. That's right.
So there were 4 major groups, maybe 5, that did not want pot to be legalized because of the hemp, and also because pharmaceuticals. One of them is that THC was ruining the man-made pharmaceuticals industry. So that was one, and then the second one was the paper company, because when we started making paper out of hemp,
The
people
paper
who were cutting
industry's
down
silent
trees-
war on hemp.
they wanted to cut down the trees because they were losing profit off of us making paper. So they were in on making marijuana illegal oil because the Model T was run off of the hemp seed oil. They didn't want that getting out, so it ruined the oil industry. And then I think that's kind of it. So maybe 3, but there were some major issues on why not hemp, but marijuana should be illegal. Now, hemp itself is not illegal because you can get hemp lotions and things like that. But for a while, it was associated negatively with the THC and the CBD. So people weren't buying it because, if you had hemp, you have marijuana. It's a little different. And now people are kind of starting to open their eyes on just how good of a resource hemp can be. We could completely stop cutting down trees. We could completely stop all the wars on oil, and we could, make our cars out of it. It's crazy.
Not only that, but you can grow it literally anywhere.
Oh, it's a resource that you could plant.
It's like a weed.
Anywhere.
It's like a weed.
That's why they called it weed.
and then the medical benefits off of it are obviously great, better than any, I think, man-made thing that we could ever come up with. It's natural.
I would have to disagree because we have no scientific backing on that statement. We cannot
That's
study.
not true.
Let's look it up.
Here in the States, we're not allowed to study or do experiments on
In the States,
marijuana.
yes, but Israel has done studies.
They've done,
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've done a lot overseas where it's not so crazy. I mean, it's
Well, actually, U.S.-backed studies in Israel.
Interesting.
I
This
take
was
it you're not
actually
a
on,
smoker of.
I'm not. No,
I'm
I'm sure
not.
we can make this a completely other episode.
Right. Yeah. I'm also not. I also don't smoke pot, but that's strictly because of how it makes me feel. I do believe that it has a lot of medical benefits, and I say this because my girlfriend has a pituitary gland tumor. She's got it's not cancerous, it's benign.
Okay. It's like a
but
growth, kinda like a cyst.
It's sitting on her pituitary gland, which causes overproduction of chemicals, especially growth hormone. And when your body doesn't know what to do with growth hormone, it basically, I'm not sure where it stores. I think it stores in her fatty cells and also in her urine. But she doesn't get nutrients from foods and liquids that she eats and drinks. So basically everything that goes in does not absorb the nutrients that she needs to survive. When smoking pot, It reverses the effect, and she starts to absorb the nutrients that are being eaten, and pot helps with that. It also helps her sleep because the pituitary gland tumor causes too much estrogen. And ultimately, I think, what is it that makes you, like, excited? What's the chemical there?
I can't remember.
Dopamine.
Right, so it produces that.
Either that
Because
and that
it's
calms
dope.
down- Yeah, because dope, yo. It calms that down as well. So I've seen firsthand the effects of marijuana helping somebody with an actual illness, which is her.
Your girlfriend's issue is cortisol, though.
Cortisol, that's it.
It's
That's the stuff.
the stress chemical.
Yeah. So it calms that down a lot, and it helps that not to produce so much, or at least masks the production with the THC, which calms her down, helps her eat, helps her sleep, and she needs that. She absolutely needs that. So I've seen firsthand the medical benefits of just that. With such a serious thing like a tumor, it helps that a lot, and it actually helps it from swelling because CBD oil is an inflammatory. So when you CBD oil, if you don't know, because you were saying that you don't know, CBD
I don't know anything about marijuana. I've smoked like maybe twice when I was younger.
CBD is not. It is a close cousin to THC, but it does not have the psychoactive effect. So basically, what it does is you can put it on in like balms. You rub it on your skin, and it's inflammatory. It's pain relief. I guess it's kind of like Vicks. When
It's
you
been
rub Vicks on
helping
you.
a lot of seizure patients.
See, yeah, it's been doing that just by the
People with
CBD,
epilepsy.
which
Yeah.
again is another thing that because of THC and marijuana, it's got a bad reputation, even though it has no psychoactive effects and it has all of the medical benefits. It is still illegal because of the association with.
Well, the
THC.
problem is that it's still a Schedule 1 drug, so there's not a lot of hard science. Because
Yeah,
it's
I'm
Schedule
extremely-
1, it's illegal to actually do any scientific research.
So-
on
I'm
it.
extremely skeptical when it comes to these claims and
Of course.
anecdotal evidences
No, please,
until
yeah.
it becomes
Right.
actual scientific back. I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt that I'm sure it does have some medical properties, but until there is that actual scientific
Right.
basis behind it, I am skeptical.
which is saddening because we're not able to do. That.
I don't see why not.
Well, because
like-
the truth would get out, and then people would start going, because we're already starting to do it. We're already starting going, why the fuck is marijuana and CBD illegal? Because Arizona made CBD oil legal, but federally it is still illegal. Just like
Interesting.
yeah, so just like the dispos out here, the Arizona has legal dispos. You can get your medical card. Federally, however, they could be raided at any time if the federal
Interesting.
government decided to step in. It's still federally illegal. So that's kind of crazy. But we're not here to talk about marijuana.
I was just about to say, like, hey guys, you mind if we reel this back a
Sorry.
little bit? It's very interesting.
We got very sidetracked. This is about him and his thoughts, not us and our thoughts. But if you had,
I don't mind coming back
If
though.
you
I
had-
got a lot of things to talk about. I don't mind coming back for another episode.
this definitely might be.
We definitely planned on having at least a 3-part with
This
you.
would be nice.
Okay.
So let's get back on topic with.
Well, one thing I'd like to make a distinction. So when it comes to atheism and Satanism and where I stand, it's if somebody were to come up to me in the appropriate setting in work, I completely disengage that shit.
Sure.
Keep it away from me
Yep.
at work.
Separate home and
Yeah,
and work. I do that
exactly.
well as well.
But if somebody came up to me while I was on my day off or just, in a setting, public setting, say, hey, what religion are you? I'd say, oh, I'm an atheist. I wouldn't say Satanist.
Why is that?
It's because that they don't understand the association, and I don't want to go on a 30-minute
Understood.
that we just did kind of
that
thing.
makes sense, yeah.
Every single time. It's easier to say, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in
It
God.
is really easy to say that, by the way, because as an atheist, I am not afraid to say that. And people,
Right.
I have Christian friends, I have Mormon friends, and I tell them I'm atheist. It's accepted.
But you
No
know what's funny
question.
is that even the A word is highly misunderstood, even among atheists within our own community. This is one thing I'd want to talk about.
Sure.
What do you guys define as atheism?
Well, as an atheist, I define the non-belief of a higher power other than the universe itself. That we don't have a soul, but instead kinetic energy that is neither created nor destroyed. So when we
Within a
die-
closed system.
right? So when we die, energy has to do something because it can't be destroyed. What that thing is, I don't know, but that's basically my association with the atheism.
Tyler?
I'm actually agnostic, and more so because I believe in a spiritual presence within yourself.
What do you mean by that?
Like,
What are you hosting the show now?
Oh, no. Socratic method here. Just asking a question.
Well-
I'm just kidding.
I'm an act.
Ooh! We got some breaking on the set here.
Edit this out. Edit this out. Edit this out. We're perfect.
Back from
I'm
the
an
edit.
active meditator, so I like to. I can tell a difference connecting with myself as opposed to throughout the day how you feel. Like the chemical reactions in your brain. I can definitely feel the difference throughout the day, fluctuations in stress levels. So that's what I associate with spiritual connection. Or like meditating while you're playing music or drawing or working out, or the connectiveness that you feel with yourself, with nature, with the universe. That's what I associate with spirituality.
We are Stardust.
And in association with science as well. So I like to say agnostic because when I talk to people who are religious, they understand what I'm talking about if I talk about spirituality in that sense. But once they talk about God and like a monotheistic perspective and an actual physical being, that's where I get out of that.
So how would you say there's the disconnect with atheism then? Because that seems to be able to fit within the definition.
It would, because it's just the higher...
I think I understand where you're going with, though,
Well,
is because agnosticism is more widely accepted than atheism. Atheism is a hard
Atheism
line.
is such a yes. It's
It's
I don't believe in
it's too
anything,
certain.
and if you
Not
believe
necessarily.
in-
I'm certain with it.
a lot of people are militant atheists, and they think that is the right perspective to hold because then you challenge. And I don't disagree with being a challenger of religion, but I disagree with some of their methods. And unfortunately, this does create a generalization for atheists, but a lot of them do it. You attack a religious person for their perspective, and your moral perspective or your intellectual perspective is inherently correct, and they are wrong. I don't agree with doing that.
Okay, I think I see what you're saying.
So
What's your point here, guy?
Yeah, so
I take the middle road.
you take the middle road. But would that be from a completely just understanding standpoint or an ease of communication to someone else on your position?
I would say both.
So both. Okay.
Because I do understand where they're coming from, and I do believe that they can get out of a religious perspective and continue being spiritual without the God.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I truly believe we are just energy, and that is what spirituality is.
Okay.
Continue.
So what I like to define atheism is just bare bones. A, not of. Theism, a belief in a deity. Atheism is a non-belief in a deity. That's the only thing it makes a claim to. Everything else is something else extra. So bare bones, if you don't believe in a deity, welcome to the club. You're an atheist.
We
Okay, I can agree
So-
with that.
So
we create words that ease in to the conversation topic.
Right.
Agnostic, because it's easier to explain.
it is.
And it's not so cut and dry. There's more to it. But you're right. It
But
is- it's
one of
not-
my favorite people to listen to on the understanding of these words is definitely Matt Dillahunty. If you guys haven't seen any of his talks, I highly recommend it. That's probably,
I've heard him talk a lot with Sam Harris.
yes, he's probably one of my favorite vocal atheists.
Richard Dawkins as well is very interesting.
He is. There's some things I disagree with him on, but you know.
That's why we're here.
But what it comes down to, they're not mutually exclusive. You can be an agnostic atheist, which I consider myself. I don't believe anyone can 100% show for sure know anything.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah.
That's not a tenable claim, and the road that you would have to take to know everything is completely useless because we can never achieve that.
You'd have to die and come back and be like, I know this now.
Your
Yeah.
brain
You know?
can't possibly process everything anyway.
Exactly. So that
use
that information is
100%
useless.
of the logical sense of our brain. The rest
That's
of it is just
yes, but it's also debatable because I've heard scientists say we use 100%.
No, we do use
10%.
100%.
Like it's
no.
so
The
funny.
logical side is only like 2%.
Okay, that makes sense.
Citation needed.
Yeah. Stupid.
But yeah, so you could be an agnostic atheist, and then you have people who are Gnostic atheists who say, there is no God, I know that for sure. That is a position I don't agree with because of what I just said. I don't
Don't know.
believe
Right.
that anyone can know anything for 100%, and that information is useless to me anyway. I have to make decisions with the information that I have currently, and I am willing to be a believer again if there is a convincing enough argument and evidence to
I
back
think we
that.
should all be, because if God exists, fuck, I'm sorry. That sucks. I have just been an asshole, and like if he does, please fucking forgive me. But it's a strong belief.
I don't know, like,
We should all be so open-minded as to say if we have enough proof why not?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I'm not even sure that I would even worship a deity. If it's the God of the Bible and it has those rules, heaven does not sound like fun, by the way. Anything that you see in the Bible of heaven is just only constantly praising God for all eternity.
You're still doing it, and now that you know, you kind of have to do it.
Yeah, there's nothing about like, hey, now we can, get infinite blowjobs for the rest of the time or anything like that that's actually fun. No, it's
only in movies, but yeah.
But I don't think I would necessarily worship at least that God, and that God has certain claims that you would sure to be finding evidence within our world, and we just don't.
So if that God did exist, and I've had this thought as well. I was actually in the shower this morning going, "Oh, I hate
shower
you."
thoughts with
yeah.
Jesse.
Yeah. I was having this thought. I have this thought often: is that if God did exist, I don't agree with him.
I don't either.
One of those people. I wouldn't be a Satanist. I wouldn't be like, "Oh, let's do Satan," because fuck that guy too. Because if the biblical stories are true, then that guy's an asshole even more. But I would be hesitant. I'd be like, "What the fuck, man? Look at all the shit you did. What did you do all this for? That sucks." And I definitely.
No, if there was a God and I died, I would have to have a long conversation with him.
You need to explain to me why children have cancer right now. Like seriously,
Exactly.
It's too much.
And I can hear the theist arguments in the back of my head with, the problem of evil, da-da-da. But, yeah, no, I've had way too many arguments and conversation on that.
I'm not actually finding anything about percentages of brain use, but there is a lot of information on the 10% brain myth, how we don't use 10% of the brain.
Like not even 10%, or we definitely use more than 10%? What are we leaning?
Inconclusive.
Yes. Okay, so this has been a
lot of this is not very good information.
But yeah, I usually encourage people to call themselves atheists because it's still a misunderstood term, and I believe even within the community itself, because people are more comfortable with agnostic. My wife was very hesitant to use the full A word for a long time because her family's Mormon. And
you were telling me you guys weren't into anal. So
yeah, that's another A word. That's another A word that she's not comfortable with. So we might need to.
Them both, man. It's a better world.
Atheism and anal both start with an A. Coincidence? I think not.
That's good.
Come to atheism. We do sodomy.
I love. Yeah, fuck it. Sign me up. I love sodomy. I love religious topics, especially when we agree. Like it's always nice to challenge. But it's a refresher to talk about things that you have in common. Like we both have male genitalia that we like to touch. That's something we have in common.
I would agree.
Tyler, not so much.
He's saying silent over there.
I do, but
he plead the fifth.
Go on.
I like vaginas. You like vaginas.
I do.
But it's nice.
I don't like vaginas.
10 years, man.
Can we edit that pause to like a full minute?
Crickets. What do you mean you don't like vagina?
It was a great pause. I tried to hold back my laughter, but I couldn't.
So yeah, agreeing with something is nice. Let's talk about something that we don't agree on.
That is what I prefer, actually. Yeah. I don't like being in an echo chamber. Because I don't get to challenge my own beliefs. That's why I argue a lot online, and I'm sure if you're friends with me now on Facebook, so
you know what? Honestly, I've been friends with you for a while. I
really?
Just realized,
I thought I sent you a friend request just like last week.
Challenge.
Bet. Show me your dick.
All right. So
do we have proof on this?
Let's talk about. We have about 4 minutes.
About 4 minutes.
About 4 minutes.
Man, that went by fast.
Something challenging.
Something challenging, man. I mean, like, I have a little bit.
Out.
I mean, like,
we're gonna screw ourselves over by making this too difficult.
Well, no.
Yeah, we're gonna go on another
to the next time, and then we're gonna have an episode.
Like I said, I'll definitely come back whenever you guys are free.
So let's get the blood flowing for episode 2.
Let's talk about Protestantism versus Mormonism, because I know that was a topic that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, we're here in the Southwest. Mormonism is very prevalent out here.
Arizona, especially,
as well as Protestantism, isn't it?
Well, yeah, definitely. But, you see a Mormon church every quarter of a mile.
Where?
I'd never realized how many were so close until I went to a Mormon dance with a friend.
I did that too. I got kicked out for saying rave. I saw a chick with candy up to her. She was Mormon. She was in the Mormon dance. It was the only one I ever went to, other than the basketball that I played. But she had, so I leaned over to her, and I was saying, "Do you rave?" And she looked at me. She goes, "Shut the fuck up right now! Don't eat it." I was like, "I'm just asking if she raped." Parents pulling her back. I was like pushed away. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, boy? Like, it's really bad. They're judgmental. You know.
Secret Service just comes and scoops her up.
Again, I have to recommend, if you guys haven't, you can finish it within a week. The Book of Mormon is hilarious. It doesn't have anything really to say on modern day Mormonism. Fun fact: you read through it, nothing about belief. It's just a crazy story.
I got a Book of Mormonism in his old complex. I just asked them for it.
They'll give it out to you.
Oh yeah, they have like 30,000 in their little.
They just gave me one.
I mean, my brother-in-law is on a mission right now.
What?
Yeah, he's out in Chile. My other brother-in-law served his mission.
So wait, you are from your Mormon family?
Brother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
In-law. Yeah, my wife's
Right, your
family
wife
is
an
full Mormon.
Excommunicated.
And we actually have great discussion. They're very liberal Mormon.
They will hear you out.
Yeah.
I know that I had a 3-hour conversation talking to them about how I'm an atheist, and obviously they were trying to get me. I just wanted to understand their religion. My girlfriend's, again, very Mormon. She knows everything in and out. She did studies. She went to school for it. But talking to them, which is their job, it was a very interesting thing, and I still didn't agree with it, which was their point, and they failed. But I got a lot of information out of it.
There's a lot of hurdles that you have to take logically when it comes to Mormonism. It's just, there's so many crazy claims. I mean, the lack of evidence is amazing. There's a huge claim of millions of people dying here in America, and we have no bodies of that. No cities or structure. Right. It's insane. But yeah, we could definitely dive more into that.
Well, that's going to get into the next episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're about to not be doing this anymore today, and we're going to wait till next weekend. Tune in next time where we talk about Mormonism and how anal could be beneficial to your health.
Shaka.
I'm Jesse Martinez. This is Tyler Beck. There he is. You heard him. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend and the rest of your week. We'll see you next Sunday.
And try some anal.
Thank you,
Ryan.
Thanks you for Ryan. No last name.
Pseudonyms.
All right. Try some anal. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool.
Still recording. Try anal.
Yeah, it's not.
Dude, that was a good podcast, man.
That was good.
We'll definitely have you back for the rest of that Mormon conversation.
I have many different things.
I want you all the time. I do. I'm almost considering you a third co-host.
I'm willing for it. I mean, like I said, I can only do Thursday, Friday, Saturday.